Welcome. 2 sessions left. We are here at Ignite. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm a dork. I heard it was Star Wars Day. When else am I going to ever wear this shirt other than on Star Wars Day? So, for all you Star Wars fans, I mean, I was one when I was a kid, had all the toys, reenacted the whole movie. So, it is Star Wars Day if you didn't know that. So, if you have some geeky Star Wars friends, that's why they're acting real weird today. So, I'm glad I could be here to help figure that one out. For those of you watching the video, yeah, that was a timely event. Star Wars Day, I think, is only one day a year, maybe. I don't know. So anyway, now you know when we're videoing this. All right, we are down to the wire. We got 2 sessions left, and we are on the financial basics. It's actually probably even a little more than just financial basics. It's some real quick overview that if you haven't started your real estate career yet and it's flowing full steam, then I think you're going to see get some information here that can really help you avoid issues and problems that many real estate agents have when they start a real estate business, meaning that they can not manage their financials well and end up putting themselves out of business before they even get their business started. So I talk about when somebody's getting into real estate. I mean, the best thing about real estate is you're self-employed, you're self-directed. You can make as much money as you want, or you can make as little money as what the activities that you do. So that's the downside, is because you are self-employed, self-motivated. There's not a time clock that you got to clock in and clock out at. Nobody's really making sure that you're there working every single day and showing up and doing the things that you're supposed to be doing. So that is the downside to real estate. So we're going to talk about some of that stuff today and take you through the roller coaster of financial things that I've been through personally and that I see happen to a lot of people. So I will open it up just in case anybody does have any questions or anything that they would like to ask before we get started, or that you would hope that you would want to get out of today. Oh, by the way, before I do that, even if you're experienced in real estate, you've had some good sales, or you've been in for a couple of years, no matter what level you're at, there's some tips in here that I think can really help you out a lot, whether you're experienced or not. So I know when a team grows up really fast and big, believe it or not, you listening to this right now, if you had success in real estate, there's a very, very good chance that you could have somebody embezzle thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. Even just in a small market center, we experienced the front desk girl got about 70 grand away from our office before somebody caught on to it. So we're going to talk about here really quick a way that you can prevent that from ever happening. So even if you're a big agent, you're probably going to get some good tips out of today. All right, so let me throw that back open, just see if anybody unmutes or posts anything in the chat box that you might have a question about regarding the real estate business. How much money do you need to do what you need to do? How much should I expect to spend? Do I need to go get a loan? Where do I get the money? How do I stay in business for a long period of time if I don't get paid for a few months? Anything that you guys may have. I'll kind of give that a second to roll through there. But today we are going to talk about financial basics, and just go ahead and chat or unmute and go if you have a question. But in the first section, which all of these are recorded, you guys should have the links in an email that you can go back and watch the recordings. We've covered all these items, from growing your business, from lead generating, seller presentations, buyer presentations, knowing the market, getting to know what's really happening in your marketplace. And then on the element side, which has been the last 8 sessions after today, 9 sessions after Friday, is marketing your seller listings, showing houses, negotiating contract, like the hands-on stuff of actually running your business, right? Setting goals, compliance risk, and attending training and getting coaching. And then the last one is managing money, which that is the one we're talking about today, managing money and where that goes. So I can show you, just to kind of give you a preview of what you'd be looking for in your manual. we're going to be covering this quite a bit. This is the most math that you're going to have probably in the whole entire Ignite, and it is calculating profit. And you'll actually notice here too that it starts with the net profit and then the gross profit and then the gross commissions that you need to earn, then how many home sales you would have to get that, and anticipated cost of expenses that you might have running your real estate business. So it actually is working it backwards from profit, which we'll talk about here in just a little bit. But I wanted to get you prepared for this so you knew that this form is in your guide if you don't have the action guide. All right, do we have any questions? I might see an unmute on the microphone. And if not, that's fine. You can leave it unmuted in case you want to jump in and ask any questions. So the perspective that we have here. I mean, the one thing I tell people is, and this is kind of actually a setup for the first topic, is that when you first get into real estate, it seems like everybody came at you. And if you've been in real estate for a while, think back to when you got into real estate, that you had to spend money to go to real estate school. You had to spend money, like they just kept coming at you. Now all of a sudden you got to pay these boards, the real estate boards and the National Association, all the association boards. You got to be able to have access to the computer system. And it's like this $2,000 or more shows up before you can even show your first house, before you can even make any money to pay yourself back. And then depending on what franchise or business model you select, I mean, there's some people out there that take 50% of the commission for a while. And you might be on a team where they're doing 50-50. So what you got to trade off here is, what am I getting for the commission split that I have? However, what a lot of agents don't think about is their first couple sales, you're already starting out several $1,000s in the hole. If you're an individual agent, you probably have some business expenses along with that too. If you needed to get signs for your first couple listings before those sell, before they sell, you can't get paid until they sell. So you're investing some more money into signs and other marketing, and who knows what you're spending your money on depending on the business model that you want to follow. But you start out in the hole. And by the time you either are working with somebody who is hopefully providing enough value for the split that you're on, any splits should have value behind them. You're paying for something. You're not getting back what's left for free. You're paying for something. Hopefully you're getting a value. And I talk about that in the book that I wrote, The E-Myth Real Estate Agent. I do talk about that money, that it is, everybody, a brokerage, a team, all of that stuff is a business. You are a business. And so you have to make money and profit or it doesn't make sense. So if you're joining a team or you're joining a brokerage, there's a split in there so that they can make money to provide an office to go to, or to provide leads, or to provide something of value for that money that you're paying in, so that you don't have to figure out what works and what doesn't work, right? So hopefully whoever you're affiliating with has figured that out. Keller Williams is the best structure I have found because it caps. You pay in a certain amount, you pay in your fair share. Everybody else is responsible for their fair share, but they only take your part of your share as you earn it, and they don't make you pay the difference if you don't earn enough. So it gives you that opportunity to really start out and not be so far in the hole. Because think about it, by the time somebody's at 50-50 and you're 2,000 in the hole for your first sale and your first commission check's 3,500, I mean, you got $1,500 but you probably spent that in gas and other things as well. By the time you get your next check that closes 30, 60 days later, I mean, you can just be scraping by. So that's what we're here to talk about today, is all the financing. But that's to put it into perspective on how it kind of rolls out. Feel free to jump in at any point if you have any questions. And I'll watch for microphones to come off mute. But here's the other thing on perspective. 60 to 80% of all real estate agents don't make it in real estate after 3 to 5 years. Michael Gerber wrote the book E-Myth, Entrepreneur Myth, Why Small Businesses Don't Work and What to Do About It. And that 60 to 80% of real estate agents that don't make it in real estate is the same statistic that you hear in small businesses in your local community. Bakeries, little sole proprietorships, bakeries, laundry places, restaurants, you name it. 60 to 80% of those don't make it past 5 years. They have to close up and fold up and close down their shop because they weren't managing their money. That's why we have this course in here. So the 60 to 80% of real estate agents failing in the next 3 to 5 years just lines up perfectly to say you are a small business. You are a local community. You are no different than that bakery, that local restaurant, any of those local businesses that you visit in your local community. That's you. The only challenge, I wouldn't say it's a challenge, but it is a challenge, is that they've got a brick and mortar store with their name on the front of it. You're basically building a small business without that. So you can't be a secret agent. Now, that's it. Again, the advantage of Keller Williams having that logo out front. If they know that you're associated with Keller Williams in your business, in your brokerage, then you do have a brick and mortar business for the most part. You've got that building there in town. So the first thing we're going to cover here is just some of the habits that are financially sound business practices for real estate agents. And this very first one here, I mean, if you're at your computer looking at the screen, if you're not, it says set a profit goal that funds your big life and pursue the activities that achieve it. So when they talk about your big life, you know, what are your living expenses? What are your business expenses? And then what is the money that you'll need to grow your business and or invest in real estate? So when you start thinking about your big life, and is there anything else that you want to do each year to make life worth living and have a business worth owning and a life worth living? Do you go on vacation? Do you at least want to go on 1 or 2 vacations? Do you have a favorite place that you go to? Do you have kids that you want to take to Disney, right? And take them to Disney however often you want to go, every year, every 2 years, or every 3 years. What's it cost to fund that? You know, are there places that you haven't been? So when you're designing your big life, you're figuring out what you need to live, what you need for your business, what you need to grow your business and invest to have a retirement down the road, and add in any other little extra things that you want to make sure. And so that's why when I showed you that formula at the beginning, it's like we need to know what the profit needs to be at the end of the day so we can work it backwards to tell us what activities we're going to have to do to achieve it. And I will tell people all day long, every day, the activities to achieve it are very simple. And when you get a clear picture of what that is and how many you have to do, then all you have to do is just decide every single day you're going to do the activities that you need to do that. Meaning, if your perfect funded life means you have to close 5 sales a month because your perfect funded life, let's just say, is $15,000 a month to make sure you grow your business, pay your bills, and have extra fun stuff. Let's just say it's $15,000 a month. So that might be, that would be 3 sales a month probably. And that's not even a pure profit, but it'd be somewhere between 3 to 4 sales a month. So all you need to know is you have to have 5 or 6 people agree to list their house with you every month, or 5 or 6 buyers willing to sign a buyer agency agreement and say they will buy a house with you. Now that one's a little trickier because they also have to not only be willing, but be able to buy, willing and able. Been looking at the Shift book lately. If you haven't pulled the Shift book out, SHIFT by Gary Keller, our very own Gary Keller. Man, read that book again. I keep pulling that book off the shelf every time the market turns and does something weird. And it's just amazing how it continues to speak what we need to hear to survive in a shifting market or a different market. And in that, the buyers have to be willing and able to buy. So able to buy in a market like this, in a hot market where houses are, hard to come by, there's more buyers than there are sellers, and houses are getting multiple offers on them, and people are buying them with appraisal contingencies and no inspections and as is. So if your buyer is in a price range that is in the lowest price range or beginner price point for your marketplace, and they have very little money and they don't know how to fix things and they have no extra cash, this is going to be a tough market for them. I'm not sure. They may be willing, but they might not be able. And you're just not I mean, if your houses are in the lowest price range where they always have competing bids, it's going to be tough to beat them out. So, and if even their financing type can make a difference. I mean, you've got tiered financing that a cash buyer is way better than a conventional buyer. A conventional buyer has more solid credit score, less debt, more income than somebody who can only qualify for an FHA loan. In an FHA loan, they can have a little more debt and a little less income, so they're not as solid of a buyer. And then you got the VA loan, which sounds, I mean, VA, they take care of us, right? They protect our country. They earned this, and they can get in for no money down. It's supposed to be the American, like, golden ticket if you served. Yet in a VA loan, because they are putting no money down and they don't have to have money, and depending on the appraiser, right, that they get for the VA, is the VA appraisals harder than conventional. I mean, there's probably not even an appraisal for a cash purchase. So in a hot competitive market, if those cash and conventional buyers show up and all you have is somebody with some lower income scores or lower credit scores, more debt, less income, and or not putting any money down and has stricter appraisals, I mean, the seller is going to go with something that's going to be more likely to happen than not likely to happen. And they're not going to leave any money on the table. So it's a crazy market, but they got to be able. So now you just have to work it backwards. And if it says you need 10 closings per month to fund that perfect life, then that is what it is. You can sell 10 houses a month if you want. I mean, our next session that we're rolling out is going to share with you how to find 100 sales a year. Every single agent, every agent 100. Every Agent 100. In fact, if you want more information on that or you want to make sure you're part of it, it's everyagent100.com. It's free. That's free to go there. It's a free resource site. It'll tell you how to get 100 sales out of your database. So those are the kind of things that we're going to put together and share. Just that's what I do, is help agents see that they can close 100 sales a year. So if it's 10, there is a very simple way to do it, but you have to commit and pursue the activities that are going to make that happen. You have to do it every single day. Now, if you look at that and go, there's no way I'm going to pursue the activities that it will require to close 10 sales a month, and it does not require 50 or 60 hours a week to do this, right? 10 hours a week maybe. But if you're not willing to pursue those activities and do it every single day, then really look at all the numbers that you just wrote down and what do you got to take off? What do you got to take off to get there so that you can plan your business around it? All right, number 2 on here is estimate, save, and pay your taxes. Guys, setting up a payroll account may seem like the hardest thing that you will ever do, to pay somebody $100, $200, $300 a month to manage all your money coming in and then going out and setting aside the taxes. And then when we also talk about somebody who's new and you're starting out in the hole and you hire a payroll company that's already costing you $200 a month and you need to make $200 a month to pay some of your bills, right? That they already set aside some of the taxes, so you even get less commission dollars, and you're trying to get your money back that you invested to make enough money to pay yourself back and to pay the bills for the month. So those are all things that you need to plan for. And it is more likely today that you're going to get out of that hole faster than anybody ever has in the history of real estate. There are so many people that are starting in real estate, and if they just do what the successful agents are doing, I mean, we didn't have this book when I started. We didn't have these models. We definitely didn't have Ignite when I started selling real estate. If I would have had this, I could have saved a year. 1 year. I made $10,000. Me personally, I made $10,000 in my first year of real estate. I had 2 other jobs to support my real estate habit, if you want to call it that, right? So, I mean, I was out there every day just copying and pasting, making brochures, making flyers, doing everything, open houses, knocking on doors, all that stuff. And today, we have all figured out so many ways to get to the buyers and the sellers faster, that if you just attend the training, Watch the trainings over and over and over. Repeat. Right? Go to the panels and see who the top agents are and listen to what they're doing. Pick up the phone and call them. Go see them in their office. Find out who the top agent is in your office, top agents, and go take them out to lunch, right? Take them out to lunch and just ask them, what would you have done differently? And what should somebody in my current position be focusing on and doing every single day? And then just go do it, right? Because we didn't know that when we got into real estate. So setting up a payroll account was the absolute best thing I ever did. I'm going to share a story with you in a little bit that you'll be able to see why it was probably a good thing Brad Korn did set up a payroll account. Use proven models and systems. The MREA, Chart of Accounts, Millionaire Real Estate Agent, Chart of Accounts. It already tells you where to spend your money. And here's the thing about that chart of accounts. It was actually created from over 28 agents, all different companies, by the way. They weren't Keller Williams. They were all different companies, top agents that were making $1 million in real estate. And Gary did the research to find out what was common, where he put everything in common buckets between the 28 and created the percentages that you should spend on marketing, what you should spend on this and what you should spend on that as you go through the 7 levels of your business. So you can write this down. I'll also throw it in the chat. I don't know if the chat shows up on the videos or not, but it is kellerinc.com is a website that you can go to. I should give you the other one. I'm just going to give you the direct everyagent100.com. Now that one's going to take you straight to my form where you put in your name, address, phone number. You can put some comments in there, notes, hey, I was in your class, or just let me know who you are, how long you've been in business, or you're interested in really finding out more about this stuff, whatever. When you hit submit, it takes you to a resource site. And there you can watch hours of videos on turning your database into a gold mine, how to set up automated systems. It's all free. So you can go check that out, and you'll see more of that coming, because that is my life mission, to make sure I figure out a way to help every single agent sell 100 homes a year. So I'm glad to be here with you guys, because you get first shot at that. Everybody in the Bergen County whole family, I mean, this is who I'm here to help, right? Okay, let's see here. So where are we at? Be fiscally savvy by reviewing your financials monthly. And I'm going to share a money trick with you that will help you do that and help you see every single month that you're staying in budget. You might not even know how to create a budget yet. I'll show you how to create a budget and stay in budget every single month with one thing. And then also to see how much profit you have left at the end of the month. Now, when I share this with you, I'll probably say this again. You may not have profit for a few months. You might be recouping money and trying to make enough money to pay your bills, right? When you have more bills than you do money at the end of the month, right? That means there's not going to be a whole lot of profit. But we're going to be able to see how profitable your business is, and then we'll be able to see if you're making profit in your personal life or if you're just covering your bills. Pay yourself a salary. So that goes back to the payroll thing. Once you figure out what your minimum at-home bills are, the money you need to pay your bills at home, that's called your salary. It's as if you're working as an employee. And in your real estate business, you're going to hear another suggestion today on how you should be wearing the hat of who you are doing the role for in your real estate business. So if you're an individual agent, you are a listing agent, you're a buyer's agent, you're an admin, you're a marketing person, you are everything. You're your payroll department probably, right? You're everything. And as you start leveraging yourself, you'll give some of those things away. So again, big tip coming on that, on how you can keep your business expenses in line. But more importantly, when I watch big teams expand and grow and they hire people, the bigger thing will be how to keep people from leaving you because they don't think they're making enough money and they can't make a living on the split structure that you might have them on. Maybe you came up with a split for your business that's not really providing enough value for that split, and your people are leaving you. If you have people leaving on a continual basis, you're not bringing enough value for the amount of split you have, and or they may not be getting enough from you to get successful. You might not have the right systems in place to make sure they're successful so that they don't want to leave. So again, I'll give you a big tip there. So pay yourself a salary and then prepare now for financially secure future. So it is planning ahead versus finding out 40 years from now, 50 years from now after selling real estate that it's like, oh my gosh, we don't have a retirement account. When we're done selling real estate, the income stops. So you got to plan for that stuff. So on income versus profit, which I was talking about at the very beginning, what is the difference between income versus profit? I talk about that in chapter 3 and 4 of the E-Myth Real Estate Agent. Don't plan for a regular monthly salary. What I'm going to suggest is that you live off of the split that you would pay a team member if you were on a split. Now, this is hard to say because you might not quite have a vision of what it would look like if you were a team and what split structure you would do. But if I want to use something generic, and it's just like, if you hear a lot of team members that say, well, we're on a 50-50 split. So if you're going to be a 50-50 split person, maybe if and when you get your team to an expansion, and or if you are a team right now, make sure you are paying yourself whatever the split would be for your team members. So if you're about ready to build a team and you're about ready to hire a buyer's agent and you're going to do something like a 50-50 split, make sure if you're working with any buyers right now that you only get 50% of that and you don't get any other part of that profit. You as the owner gets the profit on the other 50%, but you live off of the 50%. See if you can do it. I mean, that was my biggest challenge to all my team members. If your split structure is right, you should be able to make a living off of it. And if you can't, and if it's tight, then imagine that your team members are probably going through that as well. So I'll tell you one more thing about setting all this up. When I had set up all of this, I had done my first expansion team before our company ever talked about expansion. It wasn't before Gary talked about it. He was talking about it 20 years ago. And he was talking about his vision of how teams could have teams all over the country. And I was already on that path with the E-Myth models to expand my business and go around the country. I was basically going to put little teams in all the towns that my daughters had dance competitions in, like Orlando and Dallas and Las Vegas. And I was going to build teams in those towns so I could write off all those trips that we would go there for a week or two to do dance competitions with all my girls. I had 4 girls in all these competitions. So I was going to have my teams there so I could come in and check on the team and write it off as a business expense. So the first team that I expanded happened to be 3 hours away from Kansas City in Lincoln, Nebraska, of all places. It was my brother that was there. But I did exactly what I told you guys. I said, here's the deal. We're going to start a team there. And he was willing to follow my models because I had been doing it for 20 years at that time. And he was just going to do what I told him to do. So he basically started in real estate with zero money. I did not send over a wad of cash to get his business started. We started it with nothing out of pocket other than his real estate school. Now, here's what we did. We knew that the team was going to be on a 50-50 split. So he had to live off the 50%, and 50% had to go in the team pot. So he just went out and grindstoned it every day till he got, his first few sales lined up. That was funding our business pot. And then out of our business pot, we were having expenses and things that we had to pay for and invest in for more marketing, whatever it might be. So we paid for the business out of the split that he was living off of, but he was the boots on the ground. So we built that to a business to where he eventually paid off all of his debt. He bought his first house, sold real estate for 10 years. Now he sold about 25, 30 homes a year. He didn't like following his big brother's plan for 100 sales a year. He definitely didn't pursue the activities to go to 100. He pursued enough activities to pay his bills, make some money to buy a house, pay off his debt, and sock away some money so that it funded his life. And that's what we're going to talk more about here today. It funded that 10 years of selling real estate very successfully for a new agent, young kid. He funded his life to get all that stuff in line so he could go back to the bowling center that his in-laws own. They own 2 bowling centers in Lincoln, Nebraska. He's been a bowler his whole life. His wife's been in bowling her whole life. So they were taking over the family business, and that's what they really wanted to do. But can you imagine like owning a bowling center? It's like the E-Myth. How much profit is there in owning a bowling center? So he actually leveraged real estate to fund that life. So you might want to own an ice cream shop. You might want to own, who knows what you want to own. You might want to give it away, in a charity, start a charity or something like that. So that brings me to this slide here. Money is good for the good it can do. So whatever that big vision is, whatever your big life is what we're actually talking about you planning for. So let's talk about how this all breaks down. There's a couple different scenarios here, and this is on page 4 of your participant guide. There are a couple of scenarios here that represent a transaction closed by a single agent. Jessica Campbell is who we're going to use in the example, where she closes a home and shows her share of the commission of $9,000 and what she may have thought and then what she really should have planned for. So on the screen to the right, you're looking right there at her sold commission is $9,000, right? So she pays, by the time her company takes their split and stuff out of there, Jessica actually got a check for $5,760. That's after her splits and whatever her splits were with the brokerage, right? So what goes into her bank account is the $5,760, and that went right into her just spending that money. She puts it into her bank account and starts spending it. So that check just came in and rolled right in. What she did not do was pull out for taxes. She didn't pull out for business stuff that she might need, reinvesting back in your business. And just personal experience, I at least had enough business savvy when I got into real estate that I knew you had to spend money to make money. That's the saying. Don't live by that saying, though. You don't have to spend money. Keller Williams has taught us all to red light, green light, right? Red light's on while you've spent money on something to make sure you can get a return from it. And once you figured out how to get a return on investment on it, then you can turn the green light on and do the next thing. But that red light is on until you get a return on it. I call that getting $5 to $10 on every dollar that I spend. I spend $1 here, I need to get it to $5 back before I will turn the red light off. Otherwise, I might just scrap the whole thing, which is also saying that I've spent $1 and gotten $2 back on this thing, and the red light was still on. I had to figure out how to get it to $5. And if I only got it to $3, that was borderline. I mean, I'm not losing money here, right? We were making money. But what Gary and Jay had taught me, Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, teaching the MREA models all the way through, like shift and everything else, is that Gary would say, if you spend $1 to get $2 back, it's not a bad business decision. You didn't lose money. However, what you did do is you kept your dollar away from something that you could have made $5 on. So if you can learn how to be a little patient, you can actually increase your profitability with less risk. Because if you're only making $2 for every dollar, and we have COVID or a changing market where you can't find any houses for sale and you're writing 10 offers and they're losing out, you're going to lose your extra dollar pretty quick. You might even lose $2 and you're folded. If you've got something that was making $5, I mean, if I lose those same $2, I'm still in profitability, right? So think about getting $5 for every dollar you spend. But let's just walk through what that commission check might look like so you can relate it to what I've been sharing about building a business and living off the split structure that you would have your team live off of. So we take that same scenario where Jessica got a $9,000 commission. She gets the $5,760. But this time she only put $1,726 in her bank account, in her business bank account. That's the percentage that she's going to take out and put back in her business. Of the $4,000 that she put in her personal account, she set aside taxes and she set aside self-employment and she put $2,400 in her wallet. So that $9,000 commission check turned into $2,400. So if she had just got out of real estate school, she's broke on her first deal. She can't even spend any money on anything. She just reimbursed herself for what she spent. But she does have $1,700 to reinvest back into her business. Can't go buy any new clothes. Can't go buy a new car yet, right? Not with $9,000 because you didn't get it. She's also got her taxes set aside and everything else set aside. And when you start doing your business like this today, then you will find out that you live off of what's in your bank account. And I'm going to go back here a couple slides. Look at number 1, the second line, because you will then start to pursue the activities that you need to achieve putting $5,700 in your bank account. She put 24. So if she gets 2 sales, she's back to 57. And she has business back in her business, or money back in her business, and she has her taxes and all the other stuff taken care of. So she just has to sell 2 houses for every one to make $5,000. Now the sad thing is when you get the $9,000 and well, I guess you can't avoid the split if you're in your split structure. But if you were outside your split and you got the 9,000, you put the whole 9,000 in your bank account. It looks like a good day, but it's not. You're not setting yourself up for trouble to put yourself out of business, even though that would be a very successful business for you to make $10,000, right? I will share with you here, one transaction, $9,000 equals $2,400 in your pocket, expenses and taxes accounted for. I'm just going to be very vulnerable and share a story in 2011. I woke up one day. Now, I started selling in 1991. Okay, moved back to Kansas City in 1995, restarted my real estate business. Only in 1995, I did what you're doing right now. I was listening to this stuff, I was writing it down, and I was applying it to my business. I had already done for the first 3 years, just running on fire, excited, doing everything and not tracking results and spending money and not making very much money either. But in 95, when I basically moved from Minneapolis, Minnesota back to Kansas City, which is where I was from, I knew I was starting my business over ground zero and I was going to do it right this time. And I started hanging out with top producers, finding out what they were doing, started doing this stuff like setting aside money. Although I didn't do that very well, not for expenses and taxes, right? So in 2011, so from 95 to 2011, I was $100,000 behind in taxes. Now, along the way, I had also gone through a bankruptcy and did all that stuff and recovered from that and got my taxes caught up once before from our bankruptcy, our personal side. But in 2011, we were $100,000 behind. The minute I realized that, 2012, I went total, like I just learned from the best to get out of debt quickly. There was a lot of Dave Ramsey in my life right then. Dave Ramsey is a financial guy that taught us how to snowball our payments. So we just started taking as much money as we possibly could, putting it towards paying off the highest interest rate credit card that we had. We'd pay that off. Then whatever that payment was, we'd take it and roll it over to the next card because we were just doing the minimums on everything else. And then we would take that payment on top of the minimum and bump it up as much as we could. And we paid the next highest credit card off. And we just kept rolling through our debt. And in 1 year, we paid off, I think it was like $20,000, $30,000 in debt, and was saving money, starting to put money aside for our taxes so we could get our taxes all straightened out. By 2014, so in 2012, we started paying off our debt. By 2014, we were all even again. We had no revolving debt, no credit card debt. The only thing we had was our cars and our house at that time, right? So no more credit cards. I've lived off of debit cards ever since 2014. I don't buy stuff unless I have the cash for it, which means I've always got the cash sitting in there because I plan for it that way. Man, I hope you guys heard that because that one can save you a ton. And, that was also 2014 is when we started payroll. So we would never, ever have a tax issue ever again. So anyway, okay, on any questions so far? Anybody have any questions about anything specific? Haven't seen anything in the chat. All right, you guys are awfully quiet. You might just unmute and go. Let me know. Tell me where I'm at on information. Is this great information? Is it okay information? Is it scary information? Give me some kind of sign you guys are there. That means if you heard me, that's you. Put it in the chat, unmute if you don't have background noise. Even if you have background noise, you can unmute. What do you guys think so far? Good stuff? Good insight? Got shy people today, or nobody can hear me at all, and you're just watching me move my lips.
Good stuff.
All right. I got what I heard. Good to see you, Kathy, or hear you, I should say. Good stuff. So what's your favorite thing so far? Well, I got you unmuted.
I like the, pay yourself, setting up a payroll account, because I actually didn't think of that. And I could see myself easily spending all of it like as if I didn't have to pay taxes and stuff, because I just never did this before. So I'm not anticipating it.
Yeah.
I used to work for a company, they did all that for you. Take out the taxes and stuff.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So I am so glad you came today, because that could be the thing that puts you over the top and helps you make it past that 3 to 5 year mark. It will be, actually. So I'm so glad you got that. Okay, guys, let's go into the MREA models. Let me see what time we got here. Okay, yeah, we got just enough time. I know this is a lot of stuff and it's all the money stuff, but we're going to walk through what the Millionaire Real Estate Agent models show you. Remember when I said there's a chart of accounts? And I mean, thank goodness for Google today, because everything, pretty much everything we have that we talk about is Googleable, however you want to say that, Googleable. So you can just Google MREA economic chart, and you should be able to find a link to it somewhere, let alone it's all inside. I mean, the whole library of things we have at KW are all available inside our command and all the other stuff that we have in there. So this MREA model shows that if the gross commission income at 100%, your cost of sale, according to the MREA, is going to be around 30% to run your business, right? Office stuff, things like that. Not counting your free copies if you have any in your office, that other stuff. Operating expenses is 30%. And the model, if you follow it perfectly to a T in the book, you should net 40% of your income. So that's another thing that Kathy was just saying. It's like we get 100% of the commission check, but really we're going to end up with 40% if we run our business properly. So whenever somebody says, oh, no, I'm doing really good, I'm keeping 80% of my money, something's missing. Something's not in whack. They're not spending money to market. They're not spending any business expenses. They're doing everything themselves. And if you are higher than 40%, especially significantly higher, it means you're probably leaving money on the table. So if you can get your cost of sales, like by charging a lesser split, you might have more people leave because there's no value, right? Or if you have operating expenses where some people say, oh, I didn't have 10% in marketing, I only had 5. Gary would challenge that if you found the $1 that nets 5 thing and you didn't invest that dollar in that, you left money on the table. So just another way I want you to see your business in this light as you're starting your business, because I wrote about it in the book that I wrote with Michael Gerber. There are so many people that are going to come tell you for this little amount, it's just one extra sale and you can pay for this one thing. And anybody who says it's one extra sale, guarantee you they're not getting 10 extra sales. Why are they focused on one extra sale? They should say, our model is so solid, you will get 10 extra sales by doing what would cost you less than one sale. Nobody that I know is having that conversation. But those are the only people I want to talk to, right? And those are the only things I look for. And many times the product itself or service, whatever it is that you're paying for to boost your business, they don't even know that that's there. I usually take it if I think I can make it work. I've taken something that was a 2-to-1 return or a 3-to-1 return, and I tried to make it a 5 times return, and I just kept working the system. And that was my focus, doing the daily things that I needed to do to get that to 5. And when I couldn't get it to 5, there's a whole chapter on this in my book where it was a lead generation site that got me 2 to 1, that I did not ever lose any money on it, but I quit doing it. And it was making me $24,000 a year. Think about that. It was making my buyer team members $50,000 a year. And they made 50 grand, I made 25 grand, and I quit doing it because I couldn't get it to 75,000 for me, which would have been 100,000 for them, right? I couldn't get it there. So I wasn't willing to risk my 25,000 to pay up front to get $25,000 profit, even though they were making $50,000, because they got most of the profit, you see, because of the split we were on. So I actually offered for them to take over the $24,000, $25,000 expenses and let them make 25 for a year, and I'd keep 50. They didn't want to do that. Seems weird. So we quit, right? Because I'm focused on 5 times return. So I have several things that get around the 3 to 4 times return. It just didn't work out as good as I wanted it to, but I didn't lose money on it, right? All right, so now when you look at a $10,000 commission check and we run it through the scenario, that says if you're going to get 10 grand, you got to pull 3 aside for your cost of sale. That's your split to you for being a buyer's agent, right? That's what the cost of sale is. Your operating expenses, just signs, lock boxes, MLS, board dues, all that stuff, $3,000 in there. The profit to your business is $4,000. If you're a single agent, you are the cost of sale, right? So by being your own buyer's agent, you take off your owner hat, you put on your buyer hat, and you go show somebody houses because you're an individual agent. You go show houses and you make money. So you get $3,000 for showing the house. Now, as the owner, take that hat off, put your owner hat back on. Now you got another $4,000 of that $10,000 that came in as profit to the business. So now as a business owner, that you got another $4,000. So technically, you could have $7,000 to spend in your personal bank account. That's as long as you didn't need anything out of that $4,000 to grow your business anymore, right? So because the operating expenses are the expenses it took to get it. Hopefully I'm just getting you guys, I just hope I'm blowing your mind going, oh my gosh, this is the best business class I've ever been in my life. If everybody would have taught everybody this, maybe the businesses would be more successful. Yes, that is all true. That's why we're teaching it. It's why Gary Keller put this stuff together in a book for us, because he wants to see us succeed. So that story, that Lincoln, Nebraska story, like I said, we basically took 50%, that profit that was in the business, we just stored it up in a separate account from my brother Jason's business, or his personal account. He got paid the 50% for being the boots on the ground. That 50% that we kept, we built up enough money in there till we had about $10,000, and then we bought signs, right? And we did our website, and we did some other things back then when we didn't have all this stuff available to us. Right now, your command and everything that we have at Keller Williams, $10,000 worth of stuff is rolled up right into this one ball. And if you're not using it, I would challenge you to sure look into it, because if you're paying for anything to do anything technology in your business, it's probably right here in our own company. So let's talk about the flow of money, because this is another chapter that I talk about in my book as well. But this is the MREA stuff, right? The flow of money. Income comes in, you pay some expenses, and whatever profit's left over at the end of the day, that's your profit. The problem in the real estate business is that we make such big checks. Like you literally sitting here right now today are going to see when you sell a house that you're going to make $10,000 or $15,000 or $30,000. I've got a closing this week. $30,000 is coming in. Now, I'm not all excited about it. $30,000 will cover my expenses for 3 months. That's all that $30,000 does, because I've learned to live off of what I'm getting for my portion of the business on what I'm living on. But $30,000 check in my market is out. That's like you just hit the lottery, right? But there are expenses that are going to come out of that $30,000, employees and some of the extra stuff that we've been investing in to grow our business, right? So I've got several $200, $300 a month things going out right now that are in place to get a 5 times return. So the red light's on right now, the green light's going, and we're working on getting a 5 times return right now. I don't know if they're going to pull it off or not. So right now they're hitting probably their 3rd or 4th month that if I'm not seeing something starting to work by 6 months, that red light's still on, I may cancel that thing. No matter how cool it is, I've got to keep my expenses under control. So the profit is what's going to be left over at the end of the month. So I can tell you that 60-40 split, most big teams might be operating at a 25 to 30% profit, meaning they're not following all the models exactly, so they're out of whack on places in their business, and they're spending 70% of every dollar that comes in. Now, let me tell you, real world, before Keller Williams, hanging out with groups of top agents that are making millions of dollars in commissions, right? Selling 30, 40, 50 million dollars worth of homes, making $1 million in commissions, and they were broke because they were spending so much money on billboards and marketing. Not that marketing's bad, but they were spending so much money on so much stuff and not tracking any of it. When Keller Williams came along, and this group is, 200, 300 of the top agents in the country, and we started looking at the net at the end of the day, it was like shocking. 25% of those people would go out of business every year. And you just couldn't understand how a top agent could just disappear, right? Now, 50% of those people were growing. So they were just going and growing, and they still made money, but they didn't track their net at the end of the day. I've only heard of one person. I was sitting in a room with probably 600 of the top agents in our company at one time. And I remember Tony DeCello asking one of the MAPS coaches, he said, raise your hand if you know for sure you're at 40% profit or above. And like one hand went up in the room. And I'm hanging around all the stars, all the people I've seen on stages. I remember one hand going up in that room. And if it was 2 or 3 out of 600, that's possible. But it wasn't 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 people raising their hands. And we had the models, right? So you got to follow the model if you're going to make your profit. I got to find my cursor here. So instead, like I showed you at the very beginning of this call, if you work it backwards and you figure out what the profit needs to be, then you can back in what your expenses are going to be. And if those expenses are out of whack, then you can get them under control, right? Or you need to readjust your profit goal if you can't get them under control, so that you bring in enough income and that you do the activities every single day that make that happen. So if you told me, Brad, my break even, if I don't make $5,000 a month, and we just work that $5,000 a month back through expenses, back to income, and it says you have to sell 3 houses a month to do that, then you have to sell 3 houses a month. Selling 1 is not an option. Selling 0 is you're on your way out. There is no option. So that means on the first day of the month, if it's a Monday, you're working 8 hours towards getting appointments until you get enough appointments that you can have 3 closings. So you might need to go on 5 or 6 or 10 appointments in the beginning till you get your scripts down, till you go back through all these Ignite classes and listen to the seller one and listen to the buyer one and know how to get these people locked up. So you might have to go on 10 appointments a month to get 3 to close. And you'll track that number from this month forward. You're at the very beginning of this month, right? If you're listening to this and it's the first of the month, you have this month to figure out how to get X number of closings. And if you can't get that many contracts accepted by the end of the month, and you know what your profit needs to be, and you know what your expenses are right now, and you don't do enough by the end of the month, then you have to do more of what you didn't do this month. Or you need to get rid of some expenses, or you need to get rid of what you're going to spend money on. So that might mean giving up cable TV, right? That's $200 a month. It might mean giving up some stuff. You either do the activities to make the profit, or you get rid of stuff so that you can get yourself profitable to bring those things back into your life. Might have to cut out Starbucks. I mean, that used to be the old one. It's like, do you know what you could get for what you could do with $5 a day? $5 a day every day of the month? Oh my gosh, you could do a ton with that in marketing, right? We're spending that on Starbucks coffee, which, by the way, last time I went through the drive-through, it was not $5 anymore. I might be done. It hit over $7. $7 for a coffee? I don't like it that much. I mean, I barely liked it for $5. The last time I do remember, just before this time, I went through and I remember hearing the total, and it was like $6. And I thought, okay, that's crazy. But seven broke it. I'm done. I mean, $7 for coffee. No way. Anyway, so income from your real estate business. Where is that income going to come from? Because as you're figuring up this number, you need to know where you can make the money from. It's listings, right? And it's sales. Those are your two big ones. But don't forget about referrals, right? Any referral business that you get from another agent is probably better than anything. You probably are not connected with your local friends and relationships as well as you should be right now. If you're tuning in for the first time, I'm going to give you a challenge. I'll show you where there's a ton of referral business, but it's going to take some real dedication to the work to capitalize on it. Write this number down. How many Facebook friends do you have? Write that number down. Go to the tab on Facebook and write that number down. And then I want you to go into your phone, and mine's an iPhone, right? So if I go into my contacts, let it register here. If I go into my contacts and I scroll down to the very bottom. So if I go to my contacts, get registered in there, and I can scroll to the very bottom, it'll tell you how many people are in your contacts. Just go all the way to the bottom. Write those two numbers down. I'm going to guess you have at least close to 1,000, if not over 1,000. You probably have at least close to or over 1,000 in your phone. So let's just say 2,000 to be safe. If your numbers were lower than that, call it 1,000, because I know you got 500 people on your phone and 500 people on Facebook for sure. But if you have 2,000 people and they're moving every 5 years, actually, I'll make it easy math. If you have 2,000 people in those lists, so they're your Facebook friends and they're on your cell phone, that means these people know who you are or you know who they are. Flat, simple, you can't deny that, right? Unless you're just clicking friends on Facebook, then you have way more than 1,000. If you have 2,000 people and they're moving every 10 years, let's say the market's moving slow, 2,000 divided by 10 is 200 of those people are moving every single year. So if they're moving every 5 years, 400 of those people are moving. If you're at 1,000, if you just say for every 1,000 people that we're talking about, somewhere around 200 of the 1,000 people on your list are moving in the next 12 months. That's a fact. You can't change it. The only thing you have to change is that you're not connected with those 1,000 people or 2,000 or 5,000. So if you just do 5 a day and go through that list and reconnect with people and just say, hey, how you doing? Write them a note. You can start reconnecting. And that's how you're going to increase your referral income, because more people will be thinking of you and know to refer you, right? And then, of course, if you got any kind of income rental properties and leasing and all that other stuff. Your expenses, total cost of commissions that are paid to the office, that's your split that you pay to the office. You have royalty fees in Keller Williams, that's the $3,000. The commission or splits paid to employees or independent contractors. So if you have a buyer agent on your team or anybody that you pay a portion of your commissions to, and then the referral fees that you pay out. When you send all your Kansas City stuff to Brad and you get 25%, right? When I send, let's see, what would that be? Yeah, when I send you a referral and you sell that house and you send me 25%, that 25% comes as an expense on your commission. It's less income that you're making. Sorry, I kind of butchered that one. But you've also got the 25%, and it's not always 25%. I'm just using that as an example. But that commission referral fee counts as income if you've got a lot of referral money coming in because you're referring people out to Kansas City, right? So digging into the cost of sales, this is how you kind of figure out what it costs you to be in business. And this formula is your gross commission earned. And I know this is some heavy math, and we're like at the top of the hour. So we're an hour into the material here. So I'm going to go through this pretty quick, but I hope you'll sit down with the book and play around with this, right? If you figure out what your profit is, you can look at some of the models and or see what you planned on spending and expenses, and that should tell you what you need your gross income to be. But it's gross commissions earned. So if it's a $10,000 check, and let's just say that's 3% of the sale price, right? That minus your company dollar, which is your 30% split to the company. So write that amount in there. And until you pay in your cap dollars, use this on every single house you're selling. This line gets used on every single house you're selling. So I know the total commission is 10. I know it's going to be $3,000 to the company, and I know it's going to be $600 that goes to royalty. And right below the box, you can put what your total is that you've paid in so far. So keep track of the last one you did and the one before and the one before. So until you hit the 3,000 on the royalty box, then you can take that box off. So you'll see here, once I paid in my royalty and I've got 3,000 in there, I can take that one off. This is actually showing that you got your 30% paid off first. So that's going to show what your commission is, but you're really going to pay your royalty off first. And that would be down here. So once you've paid both of those off, you got your cap dollars in and you got your royalty in, that's when you're keeping 100% of the commission. So that's the way to figure out your cost of sale. And building your future. So this is just another formula to go through, and I hope you will do a screenshot of this, or it's in your book. Circle it, highlight it, go through this with some real numbers on the next couple sales you think you might have. Or if you've had a couple, go back through and see if you did the numbers right. But you have your net, this is working it backwards. And once you figure out if your net profit needs to be $150,000 for the year, then you can go back through here. You divide that by 60%, divide by 0.60 to get your gross profit on how much you absolutely need. Remember, that's 40% is the net that you would work off of. So this is going to show you, if you were in model, how much gross commission you would need, right? Well, gross commission, you're adding that, or you're dividing by the 40% to add that back in. I apologize. The gross profit is also your expenses, that 30 and 30. Your home sales, divide the gross commissions by the average commission income. Example, 7,500. If it's 7,500. Is the commission, right? From that sale. The anticipated cost of sale, that is your royalty plus your cap dollar on what you're on that particular house. Remember, if the box is gone, that's going to be a 0 here, but you're going to figure that you're probably wanting to at least cap out. So just figure $3,000 on royalty and your cap dollars on the other number, right? And then for your operating expenses, take your GCI divided by 30%. So that's your cost of sale is 30%, and your operating expenses are 30%. But when you're new, you don't have a cost of sale yet. If you're a brand new agent, you don't have a split that you're paying somebody else. So that's why we're just figuring the royalty and the company cap dollar, right? So again, play with that formula and figure out how many houses you'd have to have. If you want $100,000, you got to bring in $166,000 to cover your gross profit. That's your profit, right? Because you got to take out taxes and other stuff. And your gross commissions need to be $416,000 for you to make $100,000. Let that one sink in for a second. It's like, what? I have to make $400,000 to net 100. That's going to be 56 home sales. If you're averaging 7,500 per sale, your royalty and cap dollar, this is just an example, just a sample example from the book. So their operating expenses are going to put about 124,000 in there. So here's your best practices. Gain clarity on your big life, set your personal and business budgets, set up your business entity, hire payroll if you can. It will be the best thing you ever did. The additional bank accounts. So set up an income, a operating account and a business account. Right now you have a business account. Set up a second account and put all your commission dollars in that account, and only put in your business account what you need to pay for expenses and or you for your payroll, yourself, your salary, right? because then you'll write a check to your salary, which will come into your operating account for your personal life. And then you'll take out of that what you absolutely need to pay your bills for that month and put that in your personal checking account. So those operating accounts, when the month ends and you have money left over in there, you had profit for your business and you have money to save for your personal. Obviously, before that comes over to personal, you're putting those in your tax accounts as well. So there might be a couple other accounts. I usually leave those in my capital account because I only bring into my personal account what I need. Hire an accountant, use the MREA chart of accounts, and prepare for your future insurance, savings, and investments. So here's our ahas. If you guys will write down or jot down the Survey Monkey on letting us know what you thought of this session, or write down that web address real quick for me if you are watching this video for the first time, watching it on the replay. It's surveymonkey.com with a /r/3MNBLQ6. So if you can /r/3MNBLQ6. All right, guys, that's the end of the session today. I hope you got some good stuff out of it.